on down the broken road. I call on you to help me carry the load. Oh Lord, you never let me down.
Thank you for joining us today. Anything you hear in this podcast is not to be taken for medical advice. This podcast is for information purposes only, and should you find something interesting in the information spoken about, please consult your physician further.
Welcome back to the Broken Road Project podcast. I'm your host, Trent Peterson. Today, I'm joined by my good friend, Shayne DeMarce. He's the creator of the UpStroke Podcast. He's also a filmmaker working on a new documentary. I'm super excited to have him here today and feel blessed that him and I have grown in a relationship and a friendship we have at this point. So how are you doing today, Shayne?
Hey, Trent, doing great, brother. How are you?
Man, I'm golden, super blessed. I woke up this morning, I got breath in my lungs and ready to roll.
Yeah. Good job.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that'd be better if I was on a motorcycle right now.
Right. I got that on my questions today.
Yeah.
That's one of them. Man, I bet it is. So you're from Alberta area, Canada. Where specifically are you at there?
Just below the Arctic Circle.
Yeah, but close enough. In the middle of somewhere.
I'm just west of this capital city of Alberta called Edmonton.
Man, I've seen some really pretty pictures you've had out there, and some of the posts or video that you've shot just looks like a beautiful area.
It's great. Yeah, a little further west it just gets prettier and prettier from here. Yeah, incredible place to live.
Yeah, Amber hasn't been to Canada, so hopefully, we're talking about it, and the talk is that we're going to try to make a trip, come up and see you in Orals.
We got a room for you, man.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, buddy, you can do it.
So, I guess let's just start off. I really want to get everybody familiar that doesn't know your story or hasn't heard your story yet. Who were you before the stroke? And, what did your life look like physically, emotionally, spiritually, creatively, all of that? Who was Shayne DeMarce?
I was a bunch of different things. I guess I've always had several different passions going at the same time. I own my own business. It was a residential plumbing and heating construction company. So we did predominantly new homes. And then we started at just the absolute worst time. It was basically in the middle of COVID. It had just gotten started and we started the business. And I was an owner of another company previously to that. And thought, you know what? I can do this on my own.
Right.
And we just put everything into it. Yeah, and gave her and paid double for vans, double for everything. But built it very quickly, went from 0 or 2 employees to 35 in a fairly short period of time. Had a fleet of vans and we were doing well. And then life started kicking me in the head.
Yeah.
We'll say head. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, then my wife was diagnosed with cancer. And that definitely took my eye off the business ball. Started evaluating what's important in life. And then we, started struggling with that, going through that. And that was in 2022. And I was, I've been a motorcycle rider for my whole life, basically, but very into riding my Harleys as much as I possibly could. I put a lot of miles on. I rode, minimum of 6,000 miles a year. And that's in a short year because we can't ride in the winter up here because it's Arctic. Although I have, I don't recommend it.
Right? No, probably not very safe.
No. Yeah. And then, then dealing with the trauma of possibly losing my wife and her starting to go through surgeries and cancer treatment was just a huge burden. And I just started, living my life more on my motorcycle and just running away, thinking that things will just work themselves out. They didn't. And then, it was outright. Well, so that was basically my life. Hunting, fishing, riding my Harleys.
Right. Yeah. And that was what I was kind of wanting to show is, what you did before that. And that's that was a lot, you know, and I know that you're tied in with writing was a big part of your life, which is
Yeah.
we're going to get to that, you know, what led up to the accident and changed your life forevermore. Uh, on those rides when you were going in the time that you were Benjamin was fighting cancer and that was happening to your wife, where was your mind going to on those rides or not going to?
Yeah. Yeah, a bunch of different places. I'm sure it was, I just had this instinct to just go and things will work themselves out, and sometimes in life that happens, right? If, if we focus too hard on the issues and the problems that we have in life, it seems to just feed them sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when we turn our back on them and walk away from them, things start sorting themselves out without because stress
Right.
stress fixes a lot of problems, right?
Oh, golly. No,
Like none. Yeah, makes everything worse.
it does.
So part of me was just kind of running away and hoping things would work themselves out. And then riding a motorcycle, if anyone's ever done it, especially through Western Canada, through our mountains and lakes and rivers, and it's spiritual,
It
right?
is.
So it was my church, yeah. And just the most amazing places, stopping for lunch breaks and things like that, sleeping out of a tented quite a bit. So I just packed my bike right full and would take off sometimes for days. Sometimes I think the longest was probably 10 or 12 days. It's probably the longest I went for. A lot of times I would take my wife with me before she was sick. So we had great times on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And did New Orleans and rode a lot of Texas and down the Gulf, and just great times on the bike. So it depends. I guess I kind of experienced everything on the back of that motorcycle.
Yeah.
And then, so then the spiritual times was, especially when times were hard, I just felt this real connection to God and this pull towards Him and to start releasing some of my problems to Him. And that was an interesting event. But at the same time, I know I loved that biker community and I loved that brotherhood and being around fellow men that were like me of similar mindset, a bunch of badasses, anti-government kind of guys,
Yeah.
stick up for ourselves and, never walk away from a challenge kind of thing. Right.
Right.
So I appreciated men like that. Yeah. So I had, I was being pulled in a couple of different directions emotionally. And, it was just a huge part of my life.
Right. So, just kind of looking up some things that you are also an artist. From what I've seen, there's a couple of different things. Can you tell us kind of about that? Sounds like you were a hands-on type guy, just busy, always doing something with your hands. So, what kind of things did you do?
Well, I love making things. So it's, it goes back to my first career as an auto body mechanic. So painted cars. I just loved it. Painting cars and motorcycles. And we got a contract with a small used car dealership that specialized in German cars. So I did a lot of Porsches and Benzes and small collectible stuff. And it was a blast.
Yeah.
There was just something about, creating and got into some custom paint jobs and things like that. I really enjoyed the design part of it. And then at one point, I started getting into photography. And that's when my wife and I went off. We ran away together and just went traveling for 2 years. We're making a bunch of money. So I had a bunch of money put aside. And we did that to kind of rekindle our marriage. We were going through some tough times. We've always gone through tough times, it seems like.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, I try to tell, especially younger people, I'm like, yes, I know from the outside looking in that marriage, like ours, mine and Amber's, seems perfect and great, and it is. Yeah. There's a lot of great things about it, but it is not easily come by. I mean, you have to work towards it. You got to want it. So yeah, I totally relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, there were good things and bad things that came with that whole trip. Because we both we're both business people. I ran a very large printing company. It was head office out of Chicago, so I was traveling a lot. I ran Western Canada, and my wife owned her own hair salon. So she was running that, and she basically raised the kids, right? Because I was on the road so much. And it was time for us where we thought we are going to reconnect and, fall back in love, rekindle this relationship. And I think you take these two people that really didn't know each other very well at the time, and you put them into a hotel room overseas. We don't know the languages. We went through a bunch of Europe, Italy, Spain, and Thailand, Vietnam.
Wow.
And Cambodia, Laos, and then Germany. Yeah, all over.
That's a serious
trip.
Yeah,
it was a serious trip. Yeah, it was phenomenal. So glad I did it now, looking back. Because traveling now would be absolutely horrible to some of those countries, right? Like, you just can't. Yeah. It was hard to do with two good working legs and a working body.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some places I think that I could pull off, but yeah, I'm glad we took that opportunity and did that what we did. So the art side of it's always been, I've always loved art. There's just something passionate and emotional about art, and, all the different mediums that artists use. I've just always connected with that. My uncle was an artist, and that had a major impact on me that way as well. So I'd started getting into painting, and then the photography took over. Yeah, so I just love art. I love going to art galleries, especially the new modern ones.
Right.
It's an absolute blast. Not a huge fan of the old historical art, but love the new stuff. Yeah.
That's one of the things I really admire about you, that as I've grown to know you over a short amount of time, you're a really big guy, and I don't know that video even does it justice. I can't wait to meet you in person. But how tall are you?
I'm 6'3" on a good day. Again, I shrink an inch a day, which is kind of funny. I'm 6'3" in the morning, and by the end of the day, I'm 6'2".
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that, and then you seem like a larger than life guy too. So, you take that and you take this guy that's a, tough biker type dude, and then say, I like art too. I mean, it's just a lot of layers. You're a really complex onion. There's no better way to say that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of fun being a different character, right? You just kind of embracing some of those things.
I love that.
And not letting peer pressure stop me, right? Yeah.
Well, and that's what I like to tell people. I was just saying it, I think yesterday, but as far as a stroke survivor, we get a chance to kind of reinvent ourselves without anybody actually holding it against us. I was saying, it's like, well, I was a contractor, a construction guy, swung a hammer, and now I'm wanting to fling a paintbrush, and nobody says, what are you talking about? You can't just change careers. But, after a stroke, I mean, what's anybody going to say? It's like, oh, yeah, well, he had a stroke.
Just play the cripple card, right?
So it's a pretty unique, it's a unique opportunity. I have to find something positive in it for myself, and I hope that everybody else can as well, because there's a lot of things we fight on a day-to-day basis as well. So I try to find things that are positive and things that I can lean into, and just try to appreciate that I got a lot more time.
We got time, yeah. And that's a huge part of it, right?
Right.
Like, we've always, humans, I think, just naturally want more or want something else. My wife is a hairdresser. I joke around about that. It's a great industry to be in, because women that have straight hair want curly hair.
Yeah, right.
Women that have black hair want blonde hair. Yeah. And that's just human nature. So we're always craving and wanting more or something different, something else. Life must be better as a blonde.
Yeah, the grass is always greener on the other side, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
So then, with like these dreams that people have. For myself, I don't know why I'm wired this way, but if I dream of something and it seems achievable, I just go for it and I go all in. So the travel thing, I just got tired of saying, one day I'm going to travel the world. And one day I walked away from a $500,000 a year job and sold everything, and we went traveling. And so glad we did that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So now we have some different goals and different dreams, right?
Mhm.
And they seem a little childish at times. Like, what are you doing, buddy? Now, having said that, there's been some decisions I've made, and some passions I've followed that I definitely should not have.
Right.
I should have sat back and procrastinated a little bit. And some of that, we'll probably get into. But yeah, with the motorcycle lifestyle, I took it too far. And I think that's one of the downsides to my personality of going so hard at something, is that if I don't reel it in fast enough or listen to the people around me, the loved ones, I can make it a long ways down the wrong path really quick.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I totally get that. I am a driven person myself, and a lot of times, especially prior to the stroke, it was kind of my way or the highway, and I expected, everybody to keep up. It's like catch up or shut up. Whatever, however you want to say that. Not something I'm as proud of these days as I was then. I look at things a lot different. Let's talk about the day of the accident. I know probably like me, there's a lot of things you don't remember that people have had to fill in the gaps for you, but it was an accident on a motorcycle. What do you remember about that? I guess just kind of let us know about that day and what led up to the stroke.
Yeah, it was June 22nd, 2024. It was a beautiful day. And I was meeting up with some buddies, and we were riding down about an hour and a half away to a clubhouse, to a barbecue party kind of environment. And we got down there, and it was a lot of fun. We were just hanging out. I wasn't drinking at the time. I've always been a fairly heavy drinker, but one that, a manageable alcoholic kind of thing, a functional alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
There weren't a lot of consequences to it generally. And at that time, I had one beer that day, so alcohol really didn't play a part in this. And we were just leaving, and there was this long gravel driveway coming out of this acreage where this clubhouse was. And I was on my older bike, my Road King, and nice bald tire on the back from lots of burnouts, things like that. And it was super loud. I had my fishtail pipes on that bike, just straight pipes, no baffles. So it was super loud.
Yeah, loud
So
pipes.
I love being the biggest guy around.
Lives, right?
I'm just honking it up this long driveway. Yeah, spinning sideways. I love the bike because I had really high hangers on it, 20-inch apes. And when I stood up, they just rode perfect. So I rode that bike standing a lot. And that's a lot of fun to be able to throw a big bike around standing up like that. So we're whipping up this gravel road, and we're coming to pavement, and pulled out onto the pavement. The guys in front of me gave her. I jumped on it, and I had 3 guys behind me. And one of the guys in front of me was a full patch member of the club, and he had stopped and pulled over. And I don't know why wasn't paying attention, I guess. I didn't notice that he had stopped. So I jumped on the back brake, and it just locked up. No ABS on that bike. So I knew I was going to hit him, and I didn't want to land on him. So I grabbed on the front brake as well. And just with that little skiff of gravel, I knew the bike was going to go down. So the second I was making impact with his bike, I dove off to the right because I didn't want to land on him, and let the bikes hit. And it wasn't going fast at that point. It was going very slow. So when we made contact, I bet you that bike was going less than 10 kilometers an hour, 10 miles an hour. So quite slow. My crash bar had hit his saddlebag, and no damage to my bike whatsoever. But when I jumped off, it was a fairly steep ditch that I went down. And now I've fallen my whole life, having played football and contact sports and fighting and wrestling and judo and boxing and all of that. Mm-hmm. Falling was just always an option for me. I've always been a fairly fast healer as well, so I didn't think twice about it. Just took the dive, hit and roll, right?
Right.
Well, there was no roll. It was just thud. I landed on my shoulder and the side of my head. And
Wow.
I remember, being winded, having to take a second to catch my breath. And I could see the blue sky. And then I went to sit up. My buddies came running over at that point, helped me sit up a bit. I knew something was wrong. Like the breathing was super hard and heavy. So they helped me stand up, said, I want to stand up. No, sit down. No, I'm going to stand up. So I stood up and I could stand and walk. I walked out of the ditch. I walked up to my bike and I was going to ride my bike home. So I'm checking the bike out. Yeah, it's good to go. They're like, no, dude, you're not getting on your bike. And, at that point, one of the guys' wives had their truck there. So they were like, hey, we got to get you to the hospital. Like, oh man, I'm fine. But I couldn't get in the truck. So they had me lean backwards in the passenger side of the truck. And one guy got in the driver's side, grabbed my vest, and was pulling me in. And the other guys were lifting my legs, sliding me into the front seat of the truck. And while they were doing that, this has all kind of come back to me. It's kind of flashes my memory on this event here. I don't think I'd had the stroke by that point because I was able to walk up to the bike and I could stand. So while they were pulling me into the truck is when I think something happened. I just felt my vest right up under my throat. And somewhere around that time, between the fall, getting up and getting in the truck, I had broken a blood vessel in my neck, which none of us realized. And apparently it went to my brain, caused the stroke. So I wanted to go to my hospital, which was an hour and a half away. So we get in the truck, they get me sat up properly. Someone sits in beside me, so I'm sandwiched between the driver and my other buddy on the right-hand side. And we get out off this back road and pull onto the highway. And I just started losing it. I started thinking, man, I think I'm going to die here. I can't breathe. Everything's dizzy. So I said, yeah, I'm not going to make it an hour and a half. So I went up and grabbed their cell phone, started looking for a closer hospital, and there was a closer one. We were just outside the city of Red Deer. So we turned around on the highway and headed back the way we just came and into Red Deer. It was probably about a 20-minute drive to the hospital. And then we pulled up and I couldn't really get out of the truck. That's when I realized my leg wasn't working. So they grabbed a wheelchair. They helped me out, got me in a wheelchair and took me up to the admitting desk. And I'm just going through my stuff. And I had asked someone to phone my wife because I was supposed to meet her at another friend's house for a barbecue that evening. So I had, someone call her and let her know that I wasn't going to make it, that I was banged up and I had hurt my shoulder. And that's all we really knew at that point. I know I had broken bones because I could feel them crunching and stuff when I got up, but I didn't know what was broken. So I was just going through admissions and getting my ID out, and people were having to help me do just basic things like get my driver's license out of my wallet. I was having trouble speaking. And that was it. Lights went out.
Wow. So just real quick while you're hashing that before we get too far away from it, you said when you got out or went to get out of the truck that your leg wasn't working. Was it actually broke as well, or did something happen there, or was that from the stroke?
That's from the stroke. Yeah, I had broken everything on the right hand side, and I didn't break anything on the left side. So I broke 9 of my 12 ribs. One of the ribs punctured my lung, broke my collarbone, my shoulder blade, but my arm was fine. My legs were fine. My knee was scratched up because you got to ride in shorts in the summertime. So I was wearing shorts and a vest, and that was it. Some sneakers. Yeah, definitely not riding. Supposed to dress for the slide, not the ride.
That's right. Well, that's crazy. So, I mean, on top of the fact that that we're getting to that now, and you did have a stroke that time, and now that it's coming back to you, kind of remembering the moment that probably happened, and it is almost out of body weird. It's hard to describe the way that whole thing feels when it happens, but you were also fighting for your life on multiple levels. I mean, a punctured lung's no joke, on top of the other broken bones. And from such a slow and what could have just been an easily couple scratches, and you are going home.
Yeah.
Your life changed in an instant, right at that moment. It's just,
Yeah.
and you were fighting for your life on multiple levels then. So it's just,
Yeah.
so at some point, the family learned that you had suffered a stroke. I know that now it's coming back to you, but um, and you don't even really remember much of that time right then, do you?
Not a whole lot, kind of in and out. I know that they were transporting me. I remember having little glimpses and flashes of being on a stretcher or a gurney and being moved. What I didn't know was that, or remember, is that they loaded me into a helicopter and flew me to Edmonton, so closer to home. And my accident was about 3:00 in the afternoon, and they were communicating with my wife at that time and letting him know that they were moving me and flying me to Edmonton. So by the time she had gotten to the hospital, I started coming to, and it was 3 a.m. then, so 12 hours after the accident.
That's what I had
And
here
the
on my
stroke.
notes. Did they administer a
Yeah.
TPA at the original hospital you went to, or they flew you to Edmonton? And did you even get a TPA?
No, they didn't even know I had a stroke at that point. Like, no one knew I had a stroke until I had gotten to Edmonton. They were, I was dying, right? My lungs were full of blood, and my heart rate wasn't breathing. My heart rate was stopping and going very low. So they were focused on everything else, trying to keep me alive. So it wasn't until I got to Edmonton, 13 hours later, that they run the MRIs and things like that and realized I had a stroke. And I had just woken up a little bit from the drugs they had me on. And I heard the doctor ask my wife, "Do you know when he had his stroke?" And I couldn't really talk very well. They had a breathing tube down my throat, so a big mouthpiece in and the hose going down my throat. But when I heard that, just my heart sank. And then at that point, it was just in and out of consciousness on some really heavy drugs.
Yeah, so survival right
Yeah.
then was really just the beginning of what you were about to step into, and what was going to end up being a long recovery process after that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
it's amazing that you're here today and able to visit, and all the really cool things you got going on.
Yeah.
So I guess I kind of want to, now that we do that, move into the rehab part of your journey. I've watched some of your videos. Seems like really that Canada's got some really cool cutting edge stuff, and they're a little bit ahead of the United States, which does not surprise me at all on the healthcare. I know there's other things that probably they could improve on, but everybody can improve on things.
Yeah, for sure.
But I saw you on a machine called the Karen. There's just multiple different things that I haven't seen here. It doesn't mean that they don't exist, but wow, really cool stuff that I've seen that you were able to be part of. What have you we'll start here. What have you had to relearn that most people take for granted, on a daily basis?
I think, what do I have to relearn? Well, I've got to relearn everything, and not just relearn, but learn, right? Like, I had to start learning to accept myself as is now. I'm not going to be able to outwork this as hard as I push it in rehab. Like, I'm never going to heal from this. I'm always going to have effects of it. And I get the people that hate hearing that, and I just get angry with them sometimes, because whenever I say something like that, I'm being honest, and it's a huge milestone for me to be able to accept me for what I am. Like, enough is enough, and I am enough. And that's been a huge learning curve for me, is to realize that regardless of how hard I push and drive, that I'm never going to run down the street again, or like I could before.
Right. I think I get reminded of that a lot when I say things that I can't do. They're like, I don't know if you were really that good at that before. It's like you like envision yourself as this like Oral, like we were out, just pounding the pavement and super athletes.
Yeah, not even close. The only time I ran is when I had to go to the bathroom really bad.
Yeah, right.
That was it. Yeah. But so I've had to start accepting the fact that I am going to have limitations. The things that I've had to relearn, well, basic things, right? Tying my shoes, learning how to get dressed again was really hard. And, these are all just very emotional moments when you start realizing that you can't get dressed. You can't wipe your butt after going to the washroom. I don't know if there's anything more humiliating than having to have someone wipe your butt. Crushing, man.
It is.
So, yeah. So, yeah, just basic things. Wobbling and falling in public. Now, like I said, I've always fallen and it's never been an issue. Now it's an issue, right? So now it's just crushing. It just crushes my spirit when I fall in public. Before, whenever I fell in public, I was the big drunk biker, right?
Right.
And nobody laughed. Everyone just kind of gave me space. Now it's just, I just feel like I'm under a microscope and everyone's staring at me all the time for different reasons than they stared before.
For sure. And you kind of,
I'm a big guy.
Yeah. And
I'm not easy to help get up.
Yeah. And you try to hold it together in those public spaces the best you can. Yeah. But I've had some falls at home, and it's not, I mean, it is what it is. I laid there and just cried and thought, man, I didn't get in any hurry to get up. Yeah. I thought, you got to be kidding me. This is it. This is the rest of my life. I fell on the ground and that is going to take me out. Of all the things I've ever done, I used to fall on the ground on purpose. Yeah. I was like,
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, man, that's some real stuff there.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, learning to allow people to help me. Gee whiz, buddy. Like, I'm the guy that always helped everybody else, right?
Yeah.
So now, having to ask for help to do the simplest things, it's just too much sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I do, man. I get that 100%. I think there's so many things we take for granted. So, I mean, I knew that may not be an easy question.
No good.
You know what? You look back, it's hard we shouldn't regret things, really. We lived the life that we did. We had the fun that we had. Some of those things, I feel like have led me in a positive direction in my recovery, but it's hard not to still dwell on your old self and the things that just, PTSD is a legit thing. People think about that and just think about the military, but the smells and sounds and things that happen during the medical trauma and following that, just even today, 2 years past, still trigger some days on, and it's like I'm right back in that moment. I think it's important. I try to say it often, we need to, I hope that people that haven't gone through or never go through this, but that they just cherish the moment, like every moment that you have. And I try to do the same now. We're human, so things, some days you do let a moment pass and don't realize it until it's gone. The deal is that we're not guaranteed tomorrow. So, and just like you, just out on a pretty day riding and no care, so to speak. I mean, you had stuff going on, obviously, at home with Benjamin, but at that particular moment, that was, kind of in the background of life that was going on. And then just a rude awakening. So your family was going through a lot of stuff right then at that moment anyways, and then compound that with the accident, just a lot. Man, it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the place, and I want to make sure that I pronounce this right. Was it Panoa? Is that
Anoka?
Panoka. Okay.
Yeah, really cool to have the facilities that I had here. Even in Canada, these two are probably the best. So I was 4 months in the ICU and in the stroke ward in the hospital in Edmonton. And then was accepted into a place called Halvar Johnson Center for Brain Injury. And it's in a small town, actually right beside where I was in my accident. We could have just stayed there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Why did I have to make this long trip?
Yeah. Save the government some money in the helicopter ride.
Right.
And then I was there for 7 months. So that was phenomenal. It was just the best facility. And I was inpatient there, which took a lot to get used to, right? My wife and my daughter would come and visit me on weekends. And then that Friday, when they would come visit, or Saturday, I had a cousin that lived in Red Deer, right close to Pinoca as well. So they were able to stay the nights there. And then they would leave, and my heart would just sink, and then back to the grind of rehabilitation. And it was great and it was horrible all at the same time, right? I mean, I really bonded with the therapists there and several of the patients there as well, which was great. And then on May 2nd, 2025, I was released. So that was 11 months that I was in the facility, in the hospital, and in inpatient. And I was able to come home. And I had set a goal that I'm going to walk out of the facility unaided, out of Pinoca. And everyone was quite nervous about this because they're thinking, nah, buddy, I don't think you should do this. So I went and asked one of the therapists, legally, am I allowed to do this? Is that up to me or is it up to you? Because I really want to do this. And I've been practicing so hard and working really hard.
Right.
And it took me a while, but I did it. I got there. I walked down the hall, and there's a big crowd of people saying goodbye. It was a very emotional day.
I can only imagine.
We got a bunch of it. Oh, so good. And I walked out the doors. My daughter was filming outside. I said, to the bar. You got to go be a badass again.
Right.
Well, I didn't go to the bar. Yeah. But I was quite excited about being able to walk because I was in a wheelchair up until that point. And and it was outpatient therapy at a place called the Glen Rose Rehabilitation Hospital. And that was in Edmonton. And that's the facility that has the caring system and some great, great tools. Yeah. So just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Great therapists.
The acute part of rehabilitation is super important. The further care from the outpatient is huge also. And I think, and say that a lot as well, that, for me in my recovery, that the facility that you're in does directly relate to the results of your recovery.
100%. The facility, your attitude, your willingness to work hard, things like that, right? Hope. Trying to find hope.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you're just at the lowest point in your life. And it doesn't seem like there's any life after this, for myself anyway.
And medical professionals, always want, not always, I shouldn't wrap them all in this one umbrella, but it is very common for them to fight against that message of hope because they don't want to give anybody false hope. And I get that, but man, hope is everything, especially with neuroplasticity, as far as I'm concerned, and just life in general. What is a life without hope for something bigger and better? And it's been everything for me in my recovery journey, for sure.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. For myself, like just the way I'm wired, whenever I'm making decisions, I always base it on, best case scenario versus worst case scenario. And then I make my decision on whether to take that risk and do it or not. And no one would give me either one of those. Right. Yeah. So that's where, if I don't have best case in order something to look forward to, worst case to know how bad this could be, then I'm lost. Yeah.
So, before the stroke, art was a big deal for you already. Motorcycles, cars, after the stroke and you've gone through your rehabilitation process, you're and the outpatient, all that, which I realize rehabilitation is kind of a lifelong journey. But you've gotten home and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, what now? What are we going to do? I feel like it's an obvious thing whenever you watch your podcast and the direction you're going with the documentary, that art is going to be, it was and is a huge part of your life. When did that kind of, once you realized, hey, we're going to have to do something? I mean, when did the podcast come into the thought process, and how did that all work out?
Yeah. It was really one of the classes that I was able to take in Panoka. It was called the Ed Center, which is an education center. It's a school, and they're legitimate teachers. They're part of the teachers union. It's a school for stroke patients, and it's the only one that I know of, not just in Canada, but maybe North America, that has a facility like that. And they combine it with a couple of different things. The treatment side of things, they want to help evaluate, what cognitive issues you've picked up because of the stroke, right? Some people lose creativity. Some people lose speech. Some people lose memory. Some people lose, just a bunch of weird little glitches cognitively. So they go through reading, writing, arithmetic, all that stuff, and try and determine where you're at. And then they try and determine where you were prior to the stroke. And there's a whole bunch of testing, which I absolutely hate testing. I hate being tested. I don't know why, but I just do. I stress out about it, right?
It's the defiant.
So there's
side
that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're gonna grade me?
Yeah.
And there was they were very creative with me because I am so hard headed. So they tried to determine what are the things that I wanted to do, and I was having like the first day I was having a discussion with the principal, with Evie, and I was like, man, I hate school. I'm the guy that gets kicked out of school, like almost every school I've ever been in. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this. It's got to be something else. Like, I just want to walk again. Just put me in physio. Let me do that 6 hours a day, and I'll be fine. Wasn't an option. So she started asking me some pretty pointed questions. She'd obviously been doing this for quite a while and had patients like me before. And she said, so where are you at as far as your career? What are you going to do? No, she kind of led me into that by asking a question is, what is your biggest concern with the effects of this stroke? And from day one, my biggest concern was career. How I provide for my wife, who's very ill. How do I not end up homeless through all of this? Like, life can get a lot lower than where I'm at right now, and I don't want to go there. So what kind of a career can I have with half a body? And I've always relied on my body, even though a lot of my jobs weren't physical jobs, but I always had that as my card up my sleeve, right? I'm a big physical guy. If worst came to worst, I could always go do a physical job and make a living. And now that wasn't an option. So there's no plan B. There's no card on my sleeve anymore. So having that discussion with her, I was like, man, I have no idea what I'm going to do. She said, so once you accept the fact that your body is not going to come back the way it was before, don't you think it would be good to go through some of the education courses that we have to try and determine some of the things that you are interested in that could help you develop and build as a new career? It's like, yeah, that's important. So the first one was taking a typing class. I've always been able to type, not great, but I could one finger as good as anybody. But at that point, I had no left arm. It was very, very limited, the mobility in my left arm. So I was like, man, I'm never going to be able to type. So they put me into this course. It was an online course that I did for an hour a day, and just start at step one and starting with vowels and consonants, and then started to put words together, and every day it would progress, and then you'd take a quiz at the end of every course. And I went through the whole course, and by the end of it, I was typing 30 words a minute.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
So then, now there's hope, right? So now there's, okay, well, I'm going to be able to do something with the computer. And then one of the instructors that I had there started getting into asking me other things that I wanted to learn how to do. And in business, I'd always enjoyed doing the PowerPoint presentations, building, working with the graphics, so the artistic side of things. So we started playing around with that a little bit. And that quickly just evolved into making videos. She taught me how to make these short videos for TikTok just because of the tools that were on it and using my cell phone. So then I started, when I would go back to my room at night, the end of the day, at the end of rehab, I would start researching and learning on my laptop there. And I started learning how to make these short videos. And it was fun. I was enjoying it. So I think that's what planted the seed. I also enjoyed working with the other patients at the facility. And apparently I had a positive impact on them.
For sure.
Just because of ethic. And I never liked the group exercises. I would always rather work one-on-one with the therapist than in a group of 8 to 10 people. Drove me nuts. Other people drove me nuts. I'd get very frustrated with lack of effort, people that aren't trying, slowing me down, getting in my way, right? Drove me crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we were talking about the group and how that you ended up starting the UpStroke podcast. So let's just catch somewhere in there.
So just learning how to make some videos and do some really basic editing on my cell phone kind of, sparked that interest. And then working alongside other patients, I felt that, I could give a piece of me that way to other people in therapy and try to be an example to them, falling, getting up. And if they saw me how hard I was working and willing to work, then they would then put a little more oomph into their recovery.
Yeah.
And I kind of whined and complained a couple times to the therapist that, I really don't want to do this group thing anymore. They said, well, we don't have you in the group for you. We actually have you in the group for other people. So, it was mentioned a couple times that I should consider doing a podcast. I've never really been an online kind of guy. Like if you look at my Facebook, it's pretty sparse, things like that. So I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do that. But just having gone through this whole thing, I've been humbled so much, right? From people wiping my butt, very humbled. So it was just like, what have I got to lose here? And if it does help people, then I'm giving back. I'm doing my part then. So it was actually, the week I got home, I told my wife that I think I'm going to try to do a podcast. And we just had a couple of basic things. We had the cell phone and that was about it. And a buddy of mine, I had told about it. And he bought me a couple of small microphones. And he's helped me tremendously getting this thing going and just started doing a couple episodes. And you know what? It was, from a selfish perspective, it was really good for me just to sit and talk. It was kind of like therapy, right? And explain my story. And then I'm blessed because my wife and my daughter had taken a whole bunch of video the whole time going through the rehab of me. So I have all this content and footage, and going through that footage and putting some videos together made me feel good about myself and my progress. And when I go through those times when I don't think I'm progressing fast enough, I can go back and look at some of those older videos. And I was like, yeah, buddy, you're doing okay, man.
While we're right here and lead into that, there is a quote that I found that you've referenced. What is that quote? Do you know what it is?
I don't remember.
Take your broken heart and make it art. That's cool. We're gonna say that.
That's awesome.
Because that's pretty much what I see that you, and I'm hearing that you did. So that for me, I had a hard time I did notice you had a lot of really cool video and documented your process really well. It's one thing I wish I would have done better. That was part of the side of me that was private. And I was like, no, we're not videoing this. I don't know if I'm going to make it out of this situation. And I don't want a bunch of videos of me struggling to be how everybody remembers me. So, there's a little regret there that I didn't documented as well as I could have. I mean, there was just a lot of really neat moments. But when you were going through that, one thing, it was hard for me to go back through the documentation I did have and going through that footage. Were there moments that it was hard as well? I know it was an uplifting moment, but at the same time, kind of take you right back to that moment and just kind of have a minute again of, man, this is my life now. These are the things I went through.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the whole time, like I've really struggled with the depression side of things, right? So I have to be very careful and cognizant of my emotions when I start going there. So I turn it off pretty quick because I was not going to live like this, as I mentioned before. And I knew how I wasn't going to live like this. Yeah. So I have to be really careful with that.
Well, it's good to hear that I'm not alone on that.
Hard.
Yeah. I mean, it's just,
you are not alone.
Yeah. I don't, people don't see the other side of the camera. They see the things that we're doing, and we are doing this as much as we can and as raw as we can to show the emotions and show what it's like to go through this. Cause I don't want anybody to feel like I'm, just trying to pretty up something that can be really ugly. At the same time, also don't think everybody wants to see me crying all the time either. It's I appreciate you being honest about that, because it really is. There's a lot of struggle that goes on behind the scenes that people don't see. And I think it's important for them to know that, we're just stroke survivors or any survivors of trauma in general, that they're not alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
sure feels like you are, though.
Even well past the event, I mean, there's just days I know I'm not alone. And I know that, God's holding me in his hands and pushing this things that I do forward. And I'm thankful for that every day. But I still find those moments where my mind drifts off to places I really shouldn't be at. And I do feel, pretty isolated sometimes. And then, that's even worse when you're trying to, I don't know, when you're just having a day and things aren't clicking right and you're trying to explain it to somebody that's not in here with you and they don't understand. I mean, that is really isolating. And it's like, I just wish there was some way I could word this, put this in a way that you could understand. Sometimes there's no way to really do that. So,
yeah.
I appreciate what you do, and I've told you before, and I'll say it again. I think that the way that you do your podcast is unique. You do have a calming thing about the way you talk. I don't know what it is, but for me, even on a rough day, I can watch one of your podcasts and I laugh a little bit. I may cry a little bit, and but I overall just feel a little more uplifted than I did before. So, the name of the podcast even goes that way for me. One of the questions on here, how did you pick that name for the podcast?
Yeah, I was in Panoka in the facility and kind of just outlining if I was going to do a podcast, what would it look like? So I just Googled words that have the word stroke in it.
Yeah.
And it gave me a whole list of these words. And UpStroke, I thought, oh man, that's cool.
Yeah.
And it, kind of goes with motorcycles.
Yes.
We downshift, we upshift, right? I'm on guitar as well, the downstroke, the upstroke. Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to get up. I've had a stroke, and I'm going to get up. And I'm going to live a good life. Yeah.
That's
so yeah, cool. It just kind of was fitting. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah.
UpStroke.
Well, I think it's super fitting for the podcast in general. For anybody, we're going to put the links on there. I really want to see you be successful in that. I think what you're doing is special and unique, and I think the name's super fitting. It is. I mean, you just do some cool things. It's fun.
Yeah, fun.
It's typically just ends up in an uplifting way, even on the tough ones. The one with the gentleman that's locked in. I mean, how inspirational can that be? And you look at like the things that we complain about, and you're like, man, this guy is doing it, and all he has is his eyeballs to do it with.
Yeah, that's it. And triplets now.
How amazing! Yeah, that's crazy, crazy stuff.
Yeah, what a story, hey? Yeah, so it's really good for me as well to go through these and make these videos. And it's not, I've kind of shifted now. I'm sure you've noticed. It's not just my story anymore. I'm sharing other people's stories that are online, that are on YouTube.
Which is cool.
And that's been just a great experience. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think
I've reached out and spoken on this album now as well, which is really cool.
I know your family was really big in your recovery, and they were there through a lot of things, and even with our podcast that we did with Oral, there was some conversation about the way that we view ourselves with our family, and then what the reality of that really is, and how much they love us that we didn't even realize after, and the fact that they actually are going through the same trauma that we do. I know I was watching one interview you did with your daughter, and she mentioned, realizing while she was sitting there that, this bigger than life guy, her dad, may not be that person anymore whenever, when this is all said and done. So there's a lot of things that your family's been there and gone through with you. Can we talk about some of that, and then maybe talk about a little bit about Benjamin too, and where she's at now and that whole process?
A lot there, yeah. It was, it was just crazy. Like, my wife and I weren't doing well. I was off on my motorcycle, and she was recovering from multiple surgeries. And while I was in the facility, she had 2 more surgeries. So she's just always been in this state of healing and recovery since 2022. And man, if I would have known I would have needed them so much, I would have been nicer to them.
Yeah.
But thankfully, they didn't hold it against me. So yeah, I'm just so blessed. My youngest daughter, was not impressed. Well, none of my kids were with the people I was hanging out with before my stroke. So I wasn't really talking. I tried talking to Emily, my youngest, but she wasn't returning my calls and really just didn't want to have anything to do with me. I didn't totally blame her for that. But when this happened, she lived very close to the hospital. So she was there every day and basically just put her life on hold. Man, I'm unworthy, but thank goodness. And my wife made it in as often as she could. And if it wasn't for them, I guarantee I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah. Because your daughter, what's your daughter's name?
Emily.
Just because, Emily didn't agree with your life choices doesn't mean that she didn't love you. Yeah. And that was probably really made itself very obvious really quick, through that. It's amazing how much we learn about ourselves through this whole process, and so much more value.
Yeah, so much. And I guess, it was like 2 weeks long, the period where they weren't sure I was going to survive or not. So my son came in from British Columbia. My daughter from Calgary came up. But it was family, right? The first 2 weeks, I had family around. Just where they were putting me, the drugs, and where the drugs were taking me mentally was just probably the worst part of the whole event. It was just so dark and evil where I would go, and I couldn't tell them to stop. I didn't know it was the drugs that were causing me to go there and to have these hallucinations. And I couldn't tell them to stop. I didn't know that it was the drugs. And there was no way to communicate that. Then I could hear them when I was out. I could hear the people talking. I knew who was in the room, and I could hear the monitor beeping, and I could hear them all stress when I wasn't breathing, and I could hear them telling me to breathe, and I would start breathing, and I could hear them cheer me on. And it was just every moment that I had this family with me. Cousins from Calgary came up because this is, like I said, it was going to be the last time they could see me alive. And then having them with me through the, even still today has just been, it's given me strength, right? It's given me purpose.
Absolutely.
But I knew that I could still be an example to them. Like, you know what? I'm still a fighter and I could still fight my way through this. And that could be a good example to my kids and my grandkids. So that's what I focused on. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. They were at one point actually telling you to keep breathing and fighting, and I know that's part of your story as well that you've been open about, and I'm right there with you. It's something that I tell other people. It's like, the fact that you're here today is a blessing on multiple levels, and surviving a stroke has a lot more to do, or there's equal to me. I feel like there's equal weight on the fact that you made a decision in that process that you were going to fight to live, because I do believe that there is a moment there that if you do give up, that's when your brain decides it's going to give up as well. And, that could, it's probably not going to kill you, but it definitely will change the outcome of your recovery process. And, if you give up, you give up, and your brain is naturally lazy anyway, so it's going to give up. So thank goodness they were there. There's a lot of people that don't have that cheerleading team, so to speak. And another thing I try to tell people that have loved ones that are going through that, I remember that moment of the drug-induced almost coma, so to speak. I don't know what you call that. I wasn't in a coma, but just not a good place at all. I felt like my dad mentioned it, and I agree that I was in some spiritual warfare too. There was a fight, for what was about to happen to me. And it could have went south really quick. But it was strange. I remember hearing everybody's voices and everything in there, and it was almost like I wasn't there. It was like I was there, but I wasn't there. It's huge to have family there. So I try to tell people, talk to your loved ones, even though they're not maybe responding or doing what you are used to, they can hear you. And it's important for you to be there, be uplifting, and do what you can to communicate. And that's all the way up to the locked in part as well.
Yeah.
Because, those folks can hear, they're still there. And it's a scary thing that they're going through. And it's really important for us to know we're not alone in those moments as well.
Critical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I guess we'll just kind of move into we could talk about that forever. It's something very near and dear to both of our hearts, but there's a lot of positive things going on as well. And so I kind of want to move into that and start talking about what you're doing now. I know Benjamin's also got a podcast that she's working on as well, right?
Yeah, she's done a couple episodes. She's kind of waffling a bit on it. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's been a fun experience to do that with her as well.
So do you...
And then mostly the documentary.
Yeah, the documentary coming up. And I'm going to ask about that. Benjamin's helping you on that a lot as well. Do you feel like that part of the process is bringing y'all back to a good spot? Is that easy or hard? Because there's a lot of work there,
It's all of it, right? Yeah. It's I definitely have to guard and watch my tongue, right? Yeah, because it does get frustrating. This is kind of funny how this all came about. Like I said, my biggest concern has always been my career since the beginning of this. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do some episodes on this. So I did a 7-video series called Disabled and Driven. And it's just following me and the process that I outlined, how I'm going to build a career. And, just going through step by step on what I've done and going through that, I decided, 3/4 of the way through that, what is a documentary, but basically a fancy podcast, right? Yeah. So we started piecing this thing together. We wrote Benjalin's story and then we wrote my story. And with Benjalin's story isn't finished yet. So we decided to start on mine. And Benjalin has I think it's her 12th surgery coming up next week on the 21st. So please keep her in your prayers.
Absolutely.
And it's a complete reading of everything. It's a major, major surgery. She'll be in the hospital for minimum 1 week, probably 2.
Yeah, we will definitely be keeping her in the prayers. Thank you. Y'all been through a lot.
Just keeps happening, but things are getting better now. So now that we have this goal, we're going to make a film, and we've never done anything like this before. So this is where I think it's kind of a childish dream, but we have time. My wife's unable to work now because of the neuropathy in her fingers. She can't cut hair. So we're just 2 unemployed bums that may as well be artists, right? Like a couple of hippies.
I think you may have missed your calling early on live. I've already seen some of the clips, man. It's going to be really good. I'm excited. Really excited to see.
It's been a lot of fun. Yeah. So, like anything, I bite off way more than I could chew. I started taking these online courses and learning how to put a video together, how to tell a story through film, how to record, how to edit. And then I went out and started pitching it because I need some money. Right? We've been funding this whole thing ourselves. We've had a little bit of input from a couple of friends that have helped us buy a camera and things like that, a couple of microphones. But really, we're building this on zero income and zero money. So I have to learn how to do it all myself. I can't afford to hire anybody to do any of it. So it's been a great learning experience. And Benjalin's taken a keen interest in it. She's more of the director side of things. She's now able to envision the end product and the different angles and different shots we need to get to accomplish a scene in order to tell the story.
How awesome is that?
So it's been great so far. We did apply for some other grants that we did win one. It was a podcast grant, a local one that's given us money.
Working under that pressure and just having to make something, get something done actually brings it to completion. You could sit there and just, I could edit. I could edit this podcast for weeks. I mean, you can sit there and edit it to death. Yeah. And at some point you just got to say, you know what, that's just where it's going to be. And that's, so, hopefully that, I know it's nerve wracking right now, but hopefully that's just a push to get you to the next spot,
Yeah. I do this, like I'm known to do this. So I know myself well enough that I do get stuff done and completed when I'm under pressure. Yeah. And I like that. I like the adrenaline and the rush of being under pressure and having a deadline to get it done. And I know it'll never be good enough, but it's going to have to be good enough because on June 10th, there's 150 people that are going to watch this film.
Here comes the hammer.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Man, that's exciting. That's cool.
Yeah.
So what's the name of the documentary going to be?
It's actually called UpStroke. Okay. A documentary.
Yeah. That is really cool.
Yeah. So we're just sticking with UpStroke.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Why not? I mean, just keep building the brand anyways. I think what you have is really special. Yeah. And just so that it's clear too, I know that this is a twofold thing for you. I mean, it's something that it's the reason why I started the nonprofit, the Broken Road Project, is because that is the other thing that people don't realize. Stroke is a big time, causes so many disabilities. It's debilitating. So most people aren't able to return to work. Insurance doesn't cover a lot of those things. Disability doesn't cover a lot of those things, and I know that, me being in the States and you being in Canada, things are a little bit different, but the overall scope is the same. And it doesn't mean that you don't still have living costs and all these things. And, I think a lot of people don't realize that. Not only are you figuring out, reinventing yourself to make a living, But the main goal of this is to help others and expose what's going on at the same time. I mean, it's a twofold thing for you, which is awesome. How blessed can you be to actually figure out a way to support you and Benjamin and also help others at the same time. It's tremendous.
Yeah. As long as it adds value to other people's lives, then I think there'll be a reward there for us. Then, it's not something I don't chase big money anymore. Like it's not even a desire of mine, like I have in the past. Just getting by and being able to create something and help other people is fulfilling, right? So money is important.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's why you're doing as well, raising funds to help people that are dealing with stroke. And that's phenomenal.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, it does take that to make the things happen. So, I think that's another good point right there. I was just watching a podcast that Phil did, and the lady did not have access to the resources that some of us have had. She was sent home alone, but she had such a drive and want to get better. She figured out things and rehabbed herself. Our prayer is and hope is that we will raise enough money that people can find us, and then we can improve that journey for them and take some of the stresses of the financial burdens that come along with the stroke or any neurological trauma, and relieve that so that they can focus on the healing. It's just amazing the resilience of the human spirit and what people are capable of doing. And I know you want to do the same. I mean, I want to be able to hold people's hands up and help others in the best way that I know possible to make that process seamless, or as seamless as it can be.
Yeah, exactly. And it's that feeding that spirit to fight, right? That desire. And once you lose that, then you're done, right? Whether you have money or not.
That's right. Yeah.
But the people that do have that and nurture that and feed that spirit, it's amazing what we can do. Like my life isn't over like I thought that it would be.
Yeah.
It's just beginning.
Yeah, we're on phase. We're on phase 2. It's kind of a weird way to get there, but again, super lucky that we get a second chance to do some things. Doing this is something, not necessarily being vulnerable in front of a bunch of people has not necessarily been my thing, but the video and audio and making music, which I'm still, fortunately, I'm getting back. I did lose part of my creative side, but using it, motion is lotion. It's the same thing for your mind. You got to be out there trying and doing, and I do believe that as long as you're trying and putting effort into anything, especially with your brain, it's going to put in that same effort. You're going to get what you're putting into it.
100%. Yeah.
So, we're getting close to wrapping up. Is there anything that we haven't gone over today as far as, because I will put all the links to everything that you have going on to stay in contact, obviously. So, as things go and progress, I plan on doing collaborations with you as well and trying to share that and promote your product and what you're doing and get that out there because especially the podcast alone, I try to tell everybody about that because it makes me laugh. It makes me happy when I watch it. And I think it does that for a lot of people, really does. Super cool. Super cool.
Well, it's been great getting to know you, Trent. Your relationship with God and your family and now with me has been phenomenal.
That's awesome. I appreciate that.
Love what you're doing as well. We're building such a tremendous community of wonderful people here.
Man, I hope so. I hope we keep it up, and I hope it's something for generations past us, when our time's over, and that, that they keep on raising awareness, helping others, because that is the most important thing. Yeah. I guess to wrap it up, for a stroke survivor or a caretaker, family member of somebody that's been through stroke or any trauma, what advice could you give them or words of encouragement moving forward? I always try to close the segment out that way.
Don't have a stroke.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah, let's just skip the stroke. Stay healthy. Yeah. I think that one thing that I noticed for people that have not gone through trauma yet I say yet because you will at some point. Be nice to people, because there could be a time in your life when you need people to like you. And there are miserable people out there that go through this trauma, and they are 100% alone afterwards. And I'm so glad that my family has forgiven me of my shortcomings, and they're willing to help me go through this time of my life.
Cool, man. So be nice. I mean, that's a good thing for everybody to work on anyways. And we had to learn it the hard way. Hopefully other people can learn that, vicariously through us.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. Well, have a blessed day, Shayne. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Trent. Appreciate you.
I'll do my best one day at a time on the broken road, on the broken road.